Episode 3 of Virtual Cafe, y'all. This is the Student Life and Activities newest endeavor. We are trying to provide a wealth of content in all different areas. We began last week on the 8th. We had an intro episode, and then we had a virtual museum walkthrough of the Metropolitan in New York. This week, we have a guitar clinic scheduled. We have a yoga meditation workshop. We have a virtual field trip of the Seattle Aquarium.
Seattle Aquarium. Yep.
And
30 minutes. Go ahead, Joe.
And on Friday, we're going to be debuting a new program called What Are You Watching? And Shaleel's got some more info on that for you right now. Miss Hunt?
Alrighty, so the YouTube is going to be a YouTube walkthrough, about 30 minutes. It's going to be a guided tour, so definitely feel free to mute your mics at that time, and we could all follow along with the guide, and we'll have a Q&A to follow. On Friday, we will do What Are You Watching? So the brainchild behind that was I watch a lot of TV. I always watch a lot of TV, but now I'm really watching a lot of TV. So just see what you guys are watching, and if we're all watching the same thing, maybe you can give me some ideas on some things you watched and some feedback on some of the things you watched. Like recently, I watched Madam C.J. Walker on Netflix. It was pretty awesome. Not sure how many of you guys saw that, but definitely put it on your list to do. All right.
Excellent.
Dean, you gonna say anything?
Yeah, we have the wonderful Dean Slay with us today. How are you, Dean?
I dropped in for a little guitar lessons, not knowing that I needed a guitar to actually do it. It's just fun to be hanging out with the folks while we are quarantined, rainy day. It's just good to see people's faces, getting together. So I'm looking forward to today and the rest of the week that's coming out of Student Life and Activities. Take it away, Mr. Ott.
All right, here's one you definitely all know. One of the two things I know everybody loves is either music and video games. You like either one of those? Most of you probably like both, but I'm going to slap both those together for you here right now. Here you go.
Nice.
You know that one?
Super Mario Brothers.
So yeah, we throw a little heavy spin on that. I love video game music, and it is often a forgotten about genre of music because it typically is instrumental and doesn't have lyrics. But when you think about memorable music that sticks with you, like Shaleel, you haven't heard that song in a long time, right? Or since the last time you played it? Yeah, but as soon as you heard those riffs, it gave you a feeling inside, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's funny how video game music really carries a lot of nostalgia with it, especially, for later generations. And it might not have topped the charts. It's not Lady Gaga, it's not Adele, it's not Rihanna, but man, I consider that a classic to me.
Absolutely.
Who is the composer? I have no idea. Super Mario is the composer to me. I know it's not the case.
Nintendo. It's Nintendo.
Exactly. So learning something like that, I learned it in pieces because it is slightly complicated. Obviously, that's an easy one. But this little section right here, now I learned by ear, so I didn't look at any sheet music or any tablature to figure that out. That took me a minute, but I learned it my way. That's important to do when you're a musician, is to everybody has a different method of learning. I guess that goes for anything in education, where everybody has their own method. Some people need tutoring, right? Some people just need to hammer it out on scratch paper a million times, and once they get the formula, they get it, right? So that's how I work. This is my scratch paper, where I'm not going to watch somebody else playing the exact same thing that I want to play, because I want to add my own inflection to it. You know, like I added a little bit of heavy metal vibe to that riff. Doesn't normally sound like that, but that's how my right hand likes to play. It likes to do a lot of heavy stuff. So when I want to make my version of the Super Mario theme, I don't want to watch somebody else playing it, because that might taint what my vision could be before I even know it myself, you know? So I have the Super Mario theme in my head, and I will listen to the original song to hear the notes, but that original song is done on 8-bit MIDI, which is not even technically, I mean, MIDI is an instrument, but it wasn't played on any acoustic type of instrument. It was made on a computer. So I will listen to that just to make sure I'm playing the notes correctly. But when it comes to translating to the guitar, I kind of just thumb my way through literally the fretboard, trying to find those right notes. And then, you know, this at first, it took me a while. Now I can blaze through it, you know, but that took a lot of practice. It took a lot of scratch paper, essentially, to get to where I'm going with that, you know. And that was another rough one too. These are all, you would never hear that in a pop song, though. I wouldn't say it's an ugly riff, but it is not, you know, like a, we can sit here and do chords all day, you know, but what's exciting to me is learning something really challenging that I don't know how to play that well, because I can sit here and do Guns N' Roses songs with open chords and, you know, and make things sound really pretty. But to me, that stuff is very easy. Learning something that was very challenging.
A lot more intricate.
Exactly. So I always go for the, go ahead.
So when you say chords and riffs, what's the difference? What are you referring to?
Okay, so a chord, so like this would be a C chord. This would be a D chord. So there are collections of notes that you're playing at the exact same time. That would be a chord. So, you know, I have my ring finger on the 3rd fret of the A string. I have my middle finger on the 2nd fret of the D string, and I have my pointer finger on the 1st fret of the B string, and that makes a C chord overall when you strum all the strings together. And you can add your pinky here to make it sound a little happier. So a chord is just one collection of notes that you're playing. You're striking at one time with your other hand. A riff, this would be a riff, because it's a collection of notes not played at the same time, and it's in succession of each other. So when it's a bunch of notes in succession of each other, that's what we're talking about, a riff or a lick. Those two words can kind of be interchangeable. It's just a small section of music, a small stanza of music, if you will. So instead of just a chord, a riff is a little bit. A riff could be chords too. Like that's a riff, and that is made up of a C chord and an A chord. So I was just going back and forth between the C and the A. And that's a riff too. That's a riff of chords. So you can have chords, you can have riffs, and you can have a riff that includes chords. But you can't have a chord that includes riffs, because a chord is just a chord.
See,
yeah. Yes. You learned it.
Now we're getting deep here. Riffs with chords, but no chords with riffs.
There we go.
No chords with riffs. Okay. That's a no-no.
So now we're going to go over tuning the guitar. For those of you just tuning in, we are doing a guitar clinic today on the virtual cafe of Essex County College. We hope you're doing well. I have my guitar tuned to drop D right now, which means that my D string, my E string, and my traditional D string are both the same note. That way, when I play a big open chord, you notice my left hand is doing nothing here. And it sounds good, and it sounds like a chord, because I have that D string tuned down, E string tuned down from an E to a D. So then your top 3 strings become D, A, D, which is a D chord. If you were to play it higher, it would be. So for our intents and purposes today, I'm going to show you how to tune your guitar to standard tuning, not the drop D that I'm in. So to begin that, I'm going to go ahead, put my finger on the 5th fret of the E string, and I'm going to tap that. Then I'm going to tap the next string open, which is an A. Now I want those two strings to sound identical. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten up the E string. As you hear it slowly starting to sound like the string below it. See, now it's in tune. So you go ahead and you repeat that process right down the 5th fret on your fretboard. So you start off, then you move down and place your finger on the 5th fret of the A string, and you hit the next string open. You hear how both those are already in tune. They sound exactly the same. That's what we want. We repeat that step. Again, 5th fret on the D string. That's your 3rd string. And you strike the next string open. You hear both of those are the same. They're already in tune. The only deviation is on your 4th string. You go down to the 4th fret here. This is for scale purposes. The way that scales on the guitar and the piano were created was that the lower section or higher section, however you want to look at it, usually higher section is referring to the lighter strings that are on the bottom of the guitar. A lot of people typically will say this is the top of the guitar because it's closer to you, but technically the top of the guitar is down here on the bottom. It is confusing. But on this 4th string here, we use the 4th fret to tune, and you strike the next string open as well. And then for the final string, the B string, you're going ahead and tune, go back to the 5th fret. So down for tuning, it's 5, 5, 5, 4, and back to 5 for your final string. And of course, those are, and you use your headstock here, all your tuning pegs in order to achieve those sounds. So we'll detune this one again real quick just so you can see. So we want this one tuned. It's a little flat. Just going to go ahead and go clockwise, counterclockwise on your tuning headstock. Bring that note back up. And there we are back in tune. So you have your standard E tuning. That's what we're in now. I'm going to go ahead and show you a C chord. So with the C, you're going to be placing your ring finger on the 3rd fret of the A. You're going to be placing your middle finger on the 2nd fret of the D, and you're going to be placing your pointer finger on the 1st fret of the B. And when you strike all 3 of these together with the other open strings, you get your C chord. So once again, it's 3, 2, skip a string, and 1.
You're gonna go make me buy a guitar, huh?
You better.
As soon as we're done here, I'm gonna go check on Amazon. You know, there's no stores to buy one from, but I can get it delivered.
So that's actually a good topic to cover. Yeah, so if you're beginning out on any instrument, it used to be that Guitar Center and musiciansfriend.com were the best outlets for you to make your instrument purchases. But like Shalila just said, with Amazon, it made everything easier and competitive over the years. So I find myself a lot not really going to Guitar Center even more, even though it's close to where I live, because I can get a drum skin for $6 cheaper on Amazon, or I can get that pack of guitar strings for a couple bucks cheaper on Amazon. I can have it here, and no, I don't need it immediately, you know, so I can have it in a couple days. When you're looking for an instrument, Amazon's a great place. So you could typically get an acoustic. This is an Ibanez acoustic guitar. This is not an expensive instrument. This is maybe $120, $150, and you could probably find it on sale for even cheaper than that. So are you saying, well, Joe, you've been playing your entire life and you play crappy guitars? Well, now here's the thing. The guitar itself isn't crappy. It is a lower level brand of guitar. But you kind of go through these things. You kind of put a lot of wear and tear on them when you play them. They get kind of dirty. You can clean them up. And the thing is, they're all wood. These are wooden instruments. So they don't adapt to moisture and temperature that well. So after time goes on, even if you've treated the instrument with the utmost care and respect, and you've kept it in mint shape, to your standards, things out of your control, much like in the rest of life, can take effect, especially on an acoustic instrument. Unless you have a perfectly climate controlled environment to keep this in, or a case, it's going to have wear and tear over the years. So I stick to instruments that don't cost a lot of money because they do need to be replaced. If everybody wishes their financial situation was different, obviously, if we were all millionaires, we would have the best guitars, the best drums, the best pianos, but I typically like to find a good balance between affordability and playability, which anybody should for anything that you're purchasing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But on Amazon, you can get second. It's getting a time notification on Zoom. You can get a good acoustic on Amazon if you want to jam out with us for, I'm going to say, less than $100 if you pick a brand like First Act or a Yamaha or even an Ibanez. You take a look around, you do your shopping, but you don't need to get an expensive Gibson or a Fender. I have some of those as well, electric guitars that I would prefer. A more reliable brand for when I'm playing an electric guitar. At home, I don't have all my electric resources available to me, so I have the acoustic, and that's kind of what we're going to rock with for virtual cafe episodes. But we don't really need to be plugged in and going crazy for this anyway. We're kind of doing beginner stuff and getting people acquainted with the instrument that may not have seen it before or used it before. But if you did want to play along, I would advise you to go to Amazon and check out some prices there. Maybe compare them to musiciansfriend.com, and you can get an accurate idea of how much you're saving by using Amazon as opposed to a music site.
Hey Joe,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna call you. I'm just gonna call you, sir.
Yeah. Or you can send an email to jott@essex.edu, and I will guide you in the right direction.
There you go. Because I'm gonna find something, then I'm gonna call you and ask you about it. So
excellent. I'm going to play something for you now that is a little bit more complicated. This is the opening to a Metallica song called Battery off the album Master of Puppets. It is 2 guitar parts in one, and I like to play this to challenge myself because you do need 2 guitars to play it, but it won't sound right. So here's one guitar part. Now, as you begin playing this first part, the second guitar part creeps right in. So now, that's 2 parts that are supposed to be played at the same time together. But when you're by yourself during quarantine, you can't exactly do that, right? So what I've been trying to do is because there's a little bit of leeway in between those 2 parts, I'm trying to play them both at the same time. Here, see if I fail or if I get it. So as you can see, originally I played 2 different parts separately for you, and now I've played them in sequence of how it's supposed to sound. But to get my fingers to get back up here each time is a chore. That is definitely difficult, but it's super challenging, and it's similar to video games for me where I can just play the one part easily. But if I try to play both of these parts, which technically you can do, but it's not supposed to sound muffled, as I come back up to each note, I'm flubbing notes left and right because it's not, that part was not designed to be played by one set of hands. It's designed to be played by 2 for sure. But getting in between each cranny, here. I've been working on little things like that just to up my bag of tricks that I have. You know how, Kobe and well, back in the day, Kobe in the off season would go learn like a Texas two-step to add to his arsenal, pick up some new moves and whatnot. That's kind of what I like to do during this downtime when I'm not, playing music with my band or playing music, with anyone for that matter, just by myself. What's a good way to experience some personal growth musically during this time is to try and learn some really hard stuff that I've been putting off for a long time or that I never really wanted to touch at all. And now, since I'm sitting around a lot, I go back and I've been working on just that riff there, and I'm getting better doing it. And in the meantime, I'm also loosening my fingers up. This also serves as an exercise for myself because I picked a hard exercise. Now, when I go to the rest of the fretboard, I'll be really fast. You know what I mean? Where when we first started this morning, my fingers were a little arthritic. I couldn't really do anything like that. But now, because I've been going back and forth working like this, I can do, So the benefit about learning, about just picking something to learn that you think is cool, is that it will also serve as a wonderful warm-up exercise for you to get your fingers. I do this a lot. I just stretch my fingers as far as I can, until it starts to hurt a little bit. And that's usually how I warm up for this. But also a good tactic is to have that warm-up exercise, whatever it is. It could be anything. It doesn't even have to really sound like something you recognize or something that even sounds good. You can just, I'm just doing pull-offs and hammer-ons on these first three strings here. Now, that's not a song. It doesn't sound like anything, but it is stretching my fingers out hardcore, and it's getting me, lubed up, if you will, for the fretboard here. Now I'll be able to naturally move along this thing much faster because of the warm-up. So warm-up's really, really important. Like, I didn't do a warm-up this morning. I just started playing Super Mario for you guys, and I could feel in my hand it was still getting to where it needed to be for today. Now it's on fire. Now I could play some pretty crazy stuff for a long period of time, and it's not going to hurt. But warming up is an important part of playing the guitar. Even if you're not playing crazy heavy metal stuff and you're only playing chords and stuff, you still want to have your fingers stretched out to be able to play that C chord, be able to play that D chord. It's all about these little finger muscles here and all of your knuckles and your joints, all very, very important things. Just like with anything else, if you don't warm up, you can hurt yourself. If you don't warm up before yoga, you could really hurt yourself. If you don't warm up before you take the presidential fitness test when you're in grade school, you will hurt yourself. And same thing with the guitar. If you are just sitting in your computer chair working remotely from home, you can hurt yourself if you don't warm up. But luckily, I know we're trained professionals over here, are not trained, but I'm an untrained professional, if that makes any sense. And yeah, going pretty good. Yeah.
I like it.
I like it. The strings are notes. Correct?
Correct.
And if I remember from my old piano days, every good boy does fine.
That's it.
E, D, F. Is that the same on the?
So it is slightly different. So here we have E, B, G, D, A, E. I forget the acronym that I had learned about in grammar school. Believe it was every bad goose deserves an elephant. Every bad goose deserves an elephant. You can make that to turn into anything you want to remember it by. But
Okay.
But on the guitar, because it's, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the clef, and it tells you on each line of the sheet music that is the order the note order you just mentioned. Yeah, on the guitar, it's just a little bit different. It's 6 instead of 5 or 4. So there's a different acronym for it.
Okay.
It's definitely every bad goose deserves an elephant on the guitar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Every bad goose Every bad goose
deserves an elephant.
Every bad goose deserves an elephant.
Yes.
Okay. I was with the dean. I want every good boy does fine and FACE. that was music 101 in primary education. I mean, yeah, primary education. So
There's two
that's
E's
like
then. Why are there two E's?
Yeah, right. So the top string is an E,
is an E, and the
and the
bottom one
bottom
is an E.
string, same exact
Yes.
note. Yep.
It's the same note?
Yeah, it's the same exact note. I don't know the origin of it, but it allows you to do like very pretty things like.
What other instruments do you play?
I could do bass, mostly drums, a little bit of keyboard. I only know keyboard because it's essentially this thing just laid down on a piano, you know. But just from playing the guitar, I can play a little bit of piano, not much though.
Interesting. You say it's the guitar is just a piano sideways. How do
Pretty
you
much.
mean? What do you mean by that?
So like this is one note, and this is a half step up, and this is one full step up from that original. So 1, 2, 3 on a piano. This would be a white key. This would be a black key, and this would be the next white key on the ivories there and the ebonies. So when you flip it like this, it's like having, instead of having 88 keys all lined out like for you, you really are just focusing on 4 frets and all the strings underneath and everything. So that entire piano, all those notes are covered as you go up the neck like that, as opposed to going like this, which you can do too. But on the guitar, the ease is that you're supposed to be able to do it, all from one position like that and not having to travel around. Like when you're on the piano, you can have, 2 hands covering all those notes and everything. But on guitar, it's a little more condensed into one area. Like this is one scale right here. This is another scale right here in between my fingers. I'm not trying to give you the middle finger, sorry. And yeah, so that's what it's essentially. It's the same like note mapping of a piano, but it's just structured a little differently. It's all in one place as opposed to having to travel so much. So yeah, as I messed around with guitar for years, when I would sit down at a piano, I'm like, oh, this is very, very similar. So I'm all self-taught. I never got any lessons or anything like that. I just would watch people playing when I was a kid and whatnot, and watching other musicians, like anybody I would jam with as a kid. That's like the number one reason I've progressed over the years is just playing with other people. Even if I'm playing the drums and watching somebody else play the guitar, that is that's the best learning experience for me. I'm watching them, I'm learning the riff, even if I don't have a guitar in my hand. And the next time that I put a guitar in my hand, I'm like, oh, you know what? I want to emulate what I just learned from watching my friend play the guitar. And you just keep adding all these little tricks to your arsenal, and before you know it, you have all these things stored in your head. And even me, like, I can't really read sheet music or anything, but I have tons of stuff in my brain that I can show. I'm not like classically trained musician.
Mm-hmm. Wow, it's interesting.
Nice.
And how long have you been playing?
I've been playing drums since I was about 9, and I've been playing guitar since 12, and I'm 35 now, so too long.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to my mother's and get my guitar.
Yeah, get it. Now's the time.
And I'm gonna learn. You
Let me
watch.
tell you,
Well,
I bet. Now's
next time I get in the house.
She gonna put it outside.
Yeah, she'll put it on the porch and say, you can pick it up when you want it.
Nice.
But you're not coming in right now.
You can't come in here.
No.
Yeah, I would say during this time, it's really important to have a toy or something to create with laying around the house that is not electronic, because we got a bad weather day like this. You never know if the power can go out or anything like that. But it's nice to have something laying around. It doesn't need batteries. It doesn't need to be plugged in. It doesn't need Wi-Fi. Something that you can entertain yourself with. It doesn't have to be a guitar. I can't really think.
Mine is adult coloring book.
There you go.
And puzzle books.
What about you, Dean Slade? You got anything laying around that you like to fiddle around with when the power goes out?
Well, bad weather kind of prevents it, but I like to go outside and play in the dirt, play in my garden, and planting the flowers. So that would be my. I don't need anything to work with except dirt
Nice.
to
That is the
relax.
quote of the year right there.
You're gonna see that somewhere. You're gonna see that somewhere later on.
That's
I don't
coming
need, I
back.
don't need anything. I don't need anything but my dirt.
Yeah. Um,
We had a garden when I was a kid. That's one of the like best family activities you got right there. It's so awesome, and you grow great food or what flowers, whatever you want to do. That's such a forgotten about pastime. I hope it comes back.
yes.
I used to say I want to own a farm, but I don't think I want to do all of that work. But I like the idea of it.
It's rewarding when you can when you see something grow, and then if it's a vegetable or herb, and then you have the opportunity to use it or eat it,
Or
uh,
share it.
or share it. Exactly. That's fun. That's fun, and it does create a community when your neighbors are doing the same thing, or even if you're in Home Depot and you're just talking about plants to other people. Um, it creates a good community. And a lot of people are into it now, really, because of the Corona-19. Because people are, well, maybe I can grow my own stuff. I had read an article in the paper where there was a shortage of seeds. Um, People had got really exotic about selecting different seeds and things. So it's kind of taking its own life form now because people are they want to be able to grow their own stuff.
I've seen quite a few of them. I guess it was like a no soil type of thingy. I don't know. It's I've seen tons of them, but one of them was like it looks sort of like our blue bin in the kitchenette, the big one that we put stuff into, and there's like holes cut out into the top of it and dirt and something. But I don't know. But for whatever reason, the tub itself is what they were actually able to grow in. It didn't have to be, I guess, connected to an outside source or anything like that. But I've come across quite a few of them since this all began. I've thought about it, but they said it's time consuming and costly to begin. The I guess the in-home one. I'm not sure why. I didn't read it. I just, went across it. But I might look into it. Sounds fun.
Little rainy day jam here. This is one I like to play before bed sometimes, or when it's a day like today. Yeah. Thank you. So that is a finger picking style we just did there, where I did not use a pick for any of that. It's a little more difficult than when you're using the pick, because when you have the pick, you can kind of just strum along. But as you notice, when you use your fingers, it's a little quieter. It's a little more pretty. It's very much more delicate sounding than it would be if you were using a pick. Just a subtle little beginner note on playing the guitar. Two different styles: finger picking and playing with an actual pick. Now, I haven't been so good on cutting my nails during quarantine. I usually bite them down real good. But I've been able to play the finger picking a little bit better and differently when my nails grow out a little more. Usually I keep them very short because most of the music that I play requires me to use a pick, like, very fast, like heavy music. And there's really, when you have long fingernails and you're not finger picking, it can really get in the way. It could, touch the strings when you don't want it to. But now during this time, it's nice to have a little bit of a longer nail when you're playing. And it's also good if the pick isn't nearby and laying around. You have 5 picks on your hand at all times. So, yeah.
So the song that you just played, you wrote it, or that's something that you learned? Or?
I came up with that just hanging out. It's been with me for a couple of years now. It hasn't really morphed into anything else. Usually when I get an idea for a song, it eventually makes its way into like a bigger arrangement of other riffs and stuff like that. That one is just like this little sad riff that I've had laying around for a couple of years, and it never finds a home. So I just gave it one. Now it's on the Essex video. There we go. Yeah.
Good place to start. Good place to start.
Yeah, yeah.
Let me see if they're. Oh, are you doing lessons? I'm sorry.
No, we didn't start yet.
Oh, I don't have a guitar though.
That's okay. You might learn something anyway. You never know.
Me either. I've never played the guitar. I had a recorder.
That was fun. Remember that? Mary Had a Little Lamb? Oh my God.
Mine was hot cross buns.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
I used to have a guitar.
Yeah.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I think it's still in my mother's basement. I would just strum it.
Nice.
Wasn't much going on there.